my whiskey journey really opened my mind to other wheated bourbons. And I feel like it's still somewhat rare. We don't really see it as often, but seeing it being put out at a high proof just really, I mean, not necessarily say this is like made for cocktails necessarily, but I could see it just, I love a whiskey that can hold itself up in a hot cocktail. I like a spirit forward cocktail. I don't want it to be 40% ABV where we can't taste the bourbon. So that's awesome. Well, yeah, I think this is a good entry point to the brand for people that have never experienced it. Pricing wise on this one, do you just have like an average? I know it varies depending on location.
So I would say like 44-ish. Anytime you see a bottle that says Origin Series, that means a couple of things. It means that it's going to be 6 years old, and it means that it's 100% estate distilled. And that's a big deal because the one thing that you cannot cheat when it comes to whiskey, I've said this before, is time spent in the oak. So even though we were an idea back in 2014, we started distilling in 2016, there was still always going to be some time before we could release something that was entirely our own. So we really did a deep dive on blending and finishing and wanted to demonstrate that, like, hey, we know what a good whiskey tastes like. We know how to make and blend a good one. We make purposeful, thoughtful decisions, and that was kind of priming people to trust us for when what we were actually distilling came out. So yeah, anytime, like, I know that we have a lot of different series, so I feel like I always like to say, like, if it says Origins on it, it means those things. Just like people ask about, like, what about the Fusion series? Fusion got retired when Origin came out, but it was younger Origins with older sourced whiskey. And that was kind of us being like, ooh, maybe this is what we'll taste like when we're fully mature. And then once it was mature, we were like, okay, enough of that.
Got it. Okay. I was always wondering what happened with that. I kind of feel like it kind of eventually got so similar to the Discovery series that I kind of think it makes sense for it to have phased out.
Yeah, I think I know that the last one that we did was Fusion number 9.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Um, Fancy Francie in the chat says absolutely malted milk balls. Rip Shy Guy says my wife is a plant pathologist working in insecticides and was blown away that recipe for Bardstown was just sitting out in the open. Oh,
yeah.
wait. Okay, I don't understand. Can you explain?
Well, we always have the info on the side, so whether we made it or sourced it, how old it is, what the mash bills are, and if you're ever touring the distillery, we have essentially a big recipe board, and if you go through, you can see like how many pounds of each grain is going into the cooker for a batch. It's almost like baking a bread. Like you just got the recipe right there. You have to follow it. And the only thing that we're really hiding, if you go to the distillery, there's a little color-coded list of all the mash bills that we're making in a week. And sometimes if we've signed an NDA with someone, then there are code names up there.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I think that's kind of, I know everyone's always trying to guess like, oh wait, what is that mash bill in that Discovery series? But like there's ways to find out the ones that we can't find out. Otherwise it's just like, it's just good bourbon. Like you don't need to ask questions.
Yeah,
just enjoy it for what it is.
Just drink it.
Doug from Taste and Sensibility says lower entry proof. I never noticed that before on that 39% wheat.
Yeah, there are some things that water pulls out of the wood better than alcohol. So we were hoping for a specific mouthfeel by letting the water by like having more water in there, and I think it worked.
Awesome. So Fred is the other person that did the tasting with us. I think he wanted me to acknowledge him. So hi, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
Yeah, Fred and Todd and Donnie are also really great members of the community here. So they got to taste these along with me. So I'm very excited. Well, one that we were all very excited for. I think we're good to move on to the Discovery Series number 13. Now, I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've had a Discovery Series release. I can't tell you which ones I've had because off and on, I've just seen them and I had a chance to try them. But what makes number 13 so unique? What do you think this release brings that maybe other ones don't?
So this one has a couple of pretty cool things about it. One, it's the first time that we have done a double barrel finish on it. So it's got Hungarian oak, but it also has some American oak. We put about 40% of it in Hungarian oak and then blended everything back together. So there are 4 Kentucky bourbons, an 8-year, 2 9 years, a 15-year. And yeah, we kind of our VP of new product development and master blender Dan Calloway, he played around with the ratio of how much of it got finished in the Hungarian oak.
Mhm.
Um, Hungarian oak it's got more like spice and structure, while American oak kind of has more sweetness and body, and it's got more lignin, so that means there's more tannin, like more of that grippy mouthfeel. And when we tried aging more than 40% in of the blend in the Hungarian oak, it ended up being like really big, really overpowering, and we
Gotcha.
needed the American to kind of to mellow it out. Which isn't to say that this is a mellow pour at all. It's 110.8 proof.
Mhm.
I think it's got some really big flavors, but I think it was kind of cool that we used two types of oak on it.
Definitely. And the minimum age here is 8 years old. So for those of you that I probably should have pulled up a graphic, I didn't pull up the graphic, but this is a blend of an 8-year Kentucky bourbon, two 9-year Kentucky bourbons, and a 15-year Kentucky bourbon. The majority of which is the 45% of the 9-year Kentucky bourbon and an 18% rye mash bill. So it's very cool to see all Kentucky. I think you guys have done it before with Discovery, but not to say there's not great whiskey in other states, but it's something that I feel like some people feel.
They
Yeah, because you guys can
definitely
call it a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I was curious if you guys did that. Yeah, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Nice.
Yeah, the original discoveries, they were all the way from Kentucky, and then as we did a few more, we started branching out further and further, doing getting stuff from Canada, getting stuff from Georgia, Indiana, Tennessee. Mainly, we are just letting flavor lead the way, and hunting down like what we think are going to be like really winning blends. Uh, every time we do a discovery, the youngest expression is always at least 6 years old. So
Okay.
we're on this hunt for things that have a little more depth of character, oak characteristic, darker, bigger notes.
Definitely. And well, so here's a question. So obviously the Discovery series is one of the more higher end products you guys do. I think pricing. Do you know just rough pricing just out of
I
sure.
think it's between 130 and 150 in most places that you go.
Okay, I was thinking right around that range. So perfect. So if someone, let's say that they're not used to, spending that much on whiskey, but they're really curious about, what makes a good whiskey, from your sensory background, how would you describe something like this compared to something like, no, not that there's anything wrong with the Origin series, but like if they're ready to take that leap up to a more premium bourbon, how would you describe the differences there?
So I would say that when I think about this, I think about layers of nuance. Not to say that there aren't lots of flavors going on in the Origin series, but all four of the bourbons that were selected for this were picked because they had something that was really going to contribute to the overall blend. So could have been impacting the nose or the texture or the finish. And I just think that when you're building a whiskey that way, when you're really thinking like, okay, how do I get just an A plus in every area? You're going to get something that's bigger and bolder and more complex.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at my tasting notes, and I didn't leave any of this other than yummy and long finish. So that's all I had to say about this one.
Oh,
I see Todd in the chat. He's saying he's still getting the walnut note on the Discovery 13. Yeah, Todd was one. Yeah, Todd tasted that along with us. I did say it's very oak forward. I mean, you can tell that
yeah.
that's a well aged bourbon that's being used here. But just really layered and complex is the best way to describe it. It's like I always say this. I've said this a lot on the channel. I love a whiskey that takes me on a journey. I don't want it to be the same note from start to finish. And Discovery 13 is absolutely not that. It's like it starts out, you get that oak punch, but then you just get this really big, bold mouthfeel. And man, it reminds me why I love Discovery series so much. And I don't know why I don't buy it more often, because this is a fantastic release of it.
So on the nose, I get like honey oats and bread,
Mm,
like if you were baking a bread and you drizzled like honey and oats over it.
okay.
But Hungarian oak is known for its spices. People tend to get a lot of baking spice out of it. So for
Mhm.
me, I get some nutmeg on this one. Um, And then also probably like some toffee, a little bit of caramel. Uh, but I absolutely agree. Like it does have those like big, like woodsy flavors.
Hmm.
Like I feel like it's not a flattering tasting note, but like people say it in wine, but almost like forest floor.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I either say earthy is kind of like, it's hard to say earthy because I feel like people are like, what? But sometimes like forest floor is a great way to put it because like it's a difference between that and like mossy and like there's so many
Right.
different. I'm not the best at nosing notes, and people know that they watch me. But like, yeah, forest floor is one that I have given, so I'm at least familiar with that one. But yes, absolutely.
But okay,
Um,
I will also say give yourself a little bit of credit. Everybody has a better palate than they give themselves credit for. You just don't quite have the vocabulary for it yet. Like I still struggle. Okay, there is a whiskey, and I won't tell you which one, and I always get a distinct baby powder note out of it. And
oh,
I don't think that it's actually baby powder, but that's the
sure, yeah,
best
yeah.
word that I have for it right now. And it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, this isn't quite it, but and I know that one day I'm gonna be at another tasting and someone's gonna be like, oh, this tastes like blah blah blah. And I'll be like, the word that's been eluding me for 15 years.
And now I'm curious. Now maybe we'll get an answer from her for later on. I will say
Yeah,
so.
I can wait till I'm in my third pour.
When you said baby powder, it actually kind of reminded me of so a note that I get that's really weird on. I'm not the biggest Four Roses fan. I always get like a sweet tart, kind of like a powdery, sugary note
Oh, okay, yeah.
on Four Roses. And when you said baby powder, I'm like, maybe she means Four Roses, but maybe not. Is it not Four Roses?
It's not.
Okay, I thought I would guess. I'd go for a guess at least.
If
Yeah.
if you
So
had guessed right, I would have told you.
okay, appreciate it. Yeah. So I think everyone like you said, like everyone has people are always when I'm introducing bourbon to people, they're like, oh, I don't I mean, it kind of echoes what you just said. They're like, oh, I don't know what to say about this. I'm like, there's no wrong answers when it comes to your
Right.
personal experience. It's based on what you've eaten, what you've tried throughout your life. So if you have a really unique nose or a unique note, it's not wrong. It's just how you experience it. That's how I say to people, like,
Absolutely. And I think that that's so important to mention. Like, it depends on what you've encountered. There are times when people are like, oh, yeah, I get marzipan on this. Like, I know what marzipan is. I've never had it. So, like, it's not, I'm like, yeah, sure, maybe it's there. And my, so Bardstown is owned by Lofted Spirits. There are two distilleries in their stable, Bardstown being one of them. Green River is our sister
Hmm,
distillery. My counterpart for Green River, Karen Wells, their national brand ambassador, she grew up around like tobacco farms. So
okay,
the smell of not an already dried tobacco, but like a fresh tobacco
right.
as it's drying is
Mhm.
a scent or a flavor and a fragrance she's able to like pick up really easily. But I've only ever been around like cigars after they're dried.
Sure.
So it's something where she's like, no, there's a sweetness to it. And it's like I'm waiting for my chance to like smell a wet tobacco leaf so I can finally like understand what she's talking about.
Yeah, I do actually. That's a note that I give a lot. I grew up in South Carolina, so tobacco farms were like pretty not like I mean not that it was like our dominant thing, but there were a lot of that. So I give that note a lot on my channel as I say tobacco. I don't mean like a cigarette, like it's not like a burned cigarette. It's just more of like the raw the leaf itself. So yeah. So
Right.
I didn't ever really think of it as something that like a lot of people haven't experienced that, and that's a good point. Maybe I should stop saying tobacco. Or everyone's going to think I'm just talking about like cigarette smoke, and they're going to be like, what the hell?
Um,
Maybe.
yes, Fred, I have tried Armagnac and I like it.
Oh, he's already. Of course. Fred always brings that up. Oh. So do you get that same forest floor note on Arm does too?
So and now I had really and so